Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's daily live stream of the market open. So things are setting to gap up here in the Nasdaq. Nasdaq pre-market high 461.50. That's a good area for the upside target to potentially retest at some point intraday. Obviously the markets are gapping up on the back of NVDA earnings. NVDA now trading over 1,014. Keep in mind they have now announced a 10-to-1 stock split, so whenever companies typically announce that, you have to put into perspective, are they a stock that retail can typically buy? And when a stock is trading in the high 900s, thousand, it's not a retail traded stock. Very, very expensive to participate on both just the regular common shares and the calls. So when you put that into perspective, are we now entering a scenario where if this goes through a stock split, a 10-to-1, now it becomes a $100 stock? Does retail start to try to accumulate after we've had this extraordinary run? Is that when institutions start to dump on retail? That's something that I'm looking out for. Obviously, the stock split is still a little bit of ways, so there's potentially a run-up for NVIDIA, a continuation move. Obviously, the upside target for NVIDIA has been fulfilled. That inverse head and shoulders breakout did complete to the upside, so we actually fulfilled that upside target to a T. 1,019, 1,017, in around that range was the area that I had. Obviously, I'm looking to take profits on our hedged positions, our SOX L. Those are printing in the money, deep in the money today. So I'll be taking those profits at the open. Again, we got contracts at around 90 cents and $52 calls are in the money. Some of you sold SOX, so good stuff there. Nat gas is just a monster. Another day continuing to grind higher and higher at 308, 81.50 daily RSI. Now coming up into a weekly resistance zone at 311. This was our first major breakdown area back in the start of the year, January. So nat gas has had 4 weeks of consecutive upside, over 53% move to the upside. Again, obviously we're getting caught short and squeezed, but I frankly will not cover at a 2.5 standard deviation at this point. Again, we do have inventories coming out a little bit later, which could inevitably also spike things. It could drop things. But again, at this point in time, it's had a huge move, and I still don't think it's really sustainable. But at this point, I have been wrong about the trade, so you have to kind of take it on the chin as it comes. Interesting to see Bitcoin actually selling off here. It pushed all the way up to about 70,000, now getting whacked down to about 69.3. So there's some weakness in Bitcoin at the moment. Still seeing some healthcare stocks showing a little bit of weakness. So the market is all about semiconductors today. I think that that's the area of focus. Names that I think could squeeze higher is SMCI. AMD looks a little poised. I'm not personally going to chase NVIDIA up here. I think that NVIDIA's upside move, maybe you could push up a little bit more, but I would prefer to play some sympathy trades on SMCI, AMD. If you look at SMCI, I like these short float names. So SMCI and ARM are kind of the ones that I'm looking at, maybe AMD as well. But I definitely like SMCI, probably the most out of all of the semis, to try to catch a little bit of a short squeeze momentum. Now, the upside target that I have on SMCI today, I think it can hit this neckline, so call it 960, just below 960. You have that inverse head and shoulders neckline, and the way that this has consolidated and forming an inverse head and shoulders, it does suggest that there could be a substantial upside move in SMCI from this neckline, you could actually see a move making basically new highs in the trend. That's what this pattern is showing us. So potentially a move back to about 1280, 1300 for SMCI. So if it breaks this neckline, so we'll keep an eye on that. So now it just comes down to, are we going to enter right off the open and just press the longs, or are we going to wait for a little bit of a sell side dip before we enter in these semis? I personally am going to probably wait to see if we get a minor dip in the semiconductors, and then I'm going to start looking to potentially average into a day trade long position. Now, the QQQ is pulling back here a little bit in the pre-market, a couple 10-minute candle sell side pressure. And you're going to see that the Qs are into this interesting trend line, this upsloping trend line. Pivot to pivot to pivot, and we're tagging that area as we speak right now. So since we're looking at a new daily candle, you can probably expect the upside of this area to be right around, let me just draw it in. It looks like your upside of this trend line, if you were to tag this trend line, is probably sitting at around 462.60. So that's where I kind of expect the market to potentially trend to today. Obviously, you can see that the markets are stopping at 461.50. So there's potentially still a little bit of another $1 rally from this pre-market high on the Qs. That could happen today. Okay. Again, I will be securing our SOX L calls. We took hedged our positions yesterday with $52 and $53 calls. We also played that on semiconductor, which printed yesterday. So SOX calls are in the money on both ends. So we're looking to open up probably in the range of about 200% on those trades. I think that if it depends on what your expiry date is, you know, I took May 2-4, so I'm going to close those ones right away just to take those profits off the table. And then I'm still holding May 31 $53 calls, which again are in the money, but we still have a little bit of time on the clock. So I'm probably going to pull off all the $52 calls and pull off half of the $53 calls and leave some runners in the 53s since they are the May 31 expiry. Okay. Again, nat gas still pushing to 309. Crazy move, up another 3.95%. Short squeeze on watch. We have Intel slightly lagging. Again, crypto stocks coming under a bit of pressure in the near term. If we look at this pretty crazy chart of NVIDIA, look at its revenue growth, just absolutely mind-blowing. It's almost like you wonder if this growth is sustainable. But so far, every month, every quarter, they are proving it to be. Scrolling through some of these headlines here. At the moment, you do have oil making a nice move off of the lows. It had a low pivot reversal from right around that 76.70 and is now pushing higher.
Stop it.
Sorry, my dog and cat are fighting there. But yes, nat gas up 4.25 at 3.10. Oil's at 78.31. That's pushing up to the high side, up about 1.63%. So energy stocks are catching a bid today. Right now, gold, silver slightly negative to flat. 10-year yield flat. 2-year yield flat. The Dixie's down 0.26%. So not only do you have the positive strength in the NASDAQ market, which is inevitably going to flow to the the S&P, You also have weak yields, which is probably going to push things up. And I'm really watching to see if the Russell can stick and hold the gains that it's had. So the Russell 2000 should see some money flow come into it, but the big question is it going to hold the gains that it's seeing today? Again, the Dixie is weak, so that's supportive of higher market prices in the near term. So again, I think the upside today on the Nasdaq is about 462.60. Keep in mind that we do have this longer channel that could push us up probably over the next 2 weeks all the way up to about 470 potential. Anything can happen, but there's still a potential there. Nat gas still squeezing higher here. Quite extraordinary. Alright, again, so our focus today, or my focus, is going to be closing these SOX L calls for a nice little profit, and then also looking for some sort of a continuation pullback. I'm looking for a pullback in SMCI for a continuation long. AMD can also potentially be played. I do think that there will be an opportunity to trade SOXS, SOX, off of a short scalp. So we'll keep that on watch as well. You know, where I'd look to potentially short SOX again is, yeah, you could probably buy some more SOX calls today. I mean, I'm expecting a little bit more upside in the Qs to about 462.50. But just recognize this is a big move already in the SOX. This is a really big move. Again, so both our $52 and $53 calls are in the money, so I will look to secure those profits at the open. Alright, things are set to open here in about 6 minutes, guys. 6 minutes. I'm just going to scroll through a bit of charts here, get my other phone, and I'll be right back. Another chart that looks set to break out today is Adobe. Adobe's coming up into its 50-day moving average. It's trying to finally get above its inverse head and shoulders neckline breakout. This is a chart that's formed such a large base around this lower boundary range, and I do think that once Adobe breaks out of this inverse head and shoulders, I mean, it could be a powerful mover. It's still a quality name, a little expensive from the highs, but it has had a meaningful pullback. Markets are still trending higher, and this is a name that's definitely underperformed the S&P, so I'm looking for some of these underperformers to really get going here. But it's been very, very close at trying to get above this neckline. Very, very close. SMCI currently trading at around 930. And squeezing. How's ARM doing these days? ARM's up about $5 in the pre-market. Also looking to potentially break out of a bit of a bull flag here on ARM. So keep ARM on watch and SMCI. These are the low float names, semiconductors that typically have a higher chance of squeezing and making preposterous moves. You know, if SMCI dipped back down to about 911, I like these this previous this previous day high. So if SMCI can actually dip back into this 911, I think that's the spot where we can look to enter a bit of a long trade. Okay. NVIDIA currently trading at 1,018, still holding steady. RAM, I think for the Adobe calls, if you want to take them here, give yourself time on the clock. It hasn't officially broken out yet, so it could still stay range bound in this region, but just keep in mind that Adobe, once it breaks out, then it's going to catch a whole host of momentum. But I think just wait for that daily close above that neckline before you. If you want to take it early, maybe give yourself an extra week or so of time, just in the event that it decides that it doesn't want to break out. We're going to keep the QQQ on watch because it is going to be the leading indice today. So the QQQ and semiconductors will be leading this dance today. And the dance right now is a nice gap up open. Again, pre-market low on the Qs could probably be bought. Yeah, nat gas still pushing, KLD going lower. It's part and parcel for the move. So again, guys, I will be securing my SOX L $52 calls and securing half of the profits on the $53 calls. Markets are open here. Qs are seeing a little bit of sell side. Again, guys, nice job on those call hedges. Still seeing ARM trying to push up. Semiconductors across the board like SMCI are still trying to press. Qs are still coming in. Nice 10 minutes of selling in the Qs so far. So again, I like 911.65 around that area for SMCI. Guys, I just bought ARM 116.59, a starter position. 116.59. I bought ARM as a starter position. 116.59. It does seem like there's a lot of profit taking occurring right now. 116.59. It's a starter position on ARM. ARM. I'm going to add at one. I'm going to add to ARM position around 115.90. 115.90 I'll add to the second entry. Alright, I just got filled. 115.90. We are going lower on the Qs. Big sell-off. So good job taking profits on those calls at the open. Great job taking profits on those calls because the market is coming in quite substantially right now. So again, I'm long arm now. I'm long arm, starting to accumulate a position in ARM, guys. ARM. My next entry on ARM is around a pierce of 115, 114.95. Still seeing nat gas strong. NVIDIA is still pushing. NVIDIA's trying to get above pre-market high, which was at 1,025. You've had Apple now go negative. Russell's getting faded, guys. I still think that there's probably going to be a bounce in this indices in the markets, but as of now, things are still trending to the downside. Initial little sell side pressure off of the open. So again, I'm in ARM, SMCI, really no pullback in SMCI, quite extraordinary there. Markets are being sold into here quite substantially. All right, guys, I'm going to go along the QQQ here. 459.60. I'm long the Qs. This is a starter position as well. 459.60. Just common shares. If you want to do call options, I think that retesting your pre-market high could be a good opportunity. I'm going to add at pre-market low here, 459. 459, I'll add my second entry on the Qs. And my third entry on ARM is at 114.95. If for some reason we keep dipping below that, I'm going to add my final entry on ARM around 114.20 if need be. So we are starting to accumulate longs in this market just for a day trade bounce. Obviously ARM is getting slaughtered. That's actually only up 2.2% at the moment. SMCI is still pushing, Bitcoin being sold, NVIDIA making a new 1,034 high. Wow, quite extraordinary on NVIDIA. Adobe's still trying to break out a little bit here, guys. SMCI is squeezing. So I did get filled on the third entry there, guys, a pierce of 115. My average is now sitting on ARM at 115.70. 115.70. Qs are still coming down. SMCI is squeezing here. So SMCI has probably been the best choice to go long off of the open on. Qs are still coming in. Russell's still actually gone negative. The Russell's gone negative. Now you're seeing Meta starting to come in a touch. And again, the final entry on ARM is just below this 114.20 area. 114.20. Okay. Qs are getting a decent bounce here off of the lows. Let's see what type of candle we have. Still seeing SOXL trying to squeeze, nat gas pushing even higher at the moment. NVIDIA at 1,038. Tesla's gone negative, so you are seeing some sell side pressure. Apple's gone negative, Tesla's gone negative. That's one of the things we mentioned in our members analysis video yesterday was watch Tesla, watch Apple. Do they go negative while the semis pump? That was the trend that we saw. And it's appearing that they are coming under pressure, those two names. The Qs are still seeing some sell side. Nat gas hitting 311 at the moment. My average on ARM is 115.70. It's a 3/4 position. I will add one more time. All right, just like that, ARM is trying to go slightly green for us. SMCI is at 960. SMCI is now hitting the neckline breakout target, guys. SMCI is now hitting the neckline breakout target. It is trying to break out of that inverse head and shoulders. I still think ARM's probably going to try to break out of this flag pattern. I mean, this daily chart on ARM, I think we're just seeing a little bit of a washout before we have a squeeze higher here in ARM. I think ARM's also set up structurally very, very bullish. It's had tight consolidation. It hasn't even broken out of this consolidation just yet. My upside on ARM, I'm looking for at least a move to 119.30 and then potentially even a high test of this wide range red bar, which you could probably see around 122.60-ish. But as of now, the Qs are still seeing a bit of profit taking off of the open. That should be expected. Well, that's what we did. Bitcoin's continuing to break down here, guys. Bitcoin is being sold into at the moment. I repeat, Bitcoin is being sold into. You're getting a little bit of a dollar spike. Names like MSTR have gone negative. Adobe's still looking fairly strong in this region, trying to still maintain a bit of a breakout above its neckline. So Adobe's starting to get going here. If it can hold, it's got a decent amount of upside left. So QQQ, we're still long the Qs. We're long ARM. Guys, I'm going to short NVIDIA probably at about 1,042, 1,043 maybe. I might short NVIDIA. Qs are coming lower. QQQ is coming lower. Again, I'm looking for a short on NVIDIA, somewhere around the 1,042, 1,043 area. If we push up and make a new high. And that's a bit of a pairs trade opportunity. Apple, Tesla getting rocked. Google's coming in now. Amazon's coming in. Just a straight sell bar down on Tesla. Quite extraordinary. Oil's taking a bit of a breather here. NVIDIA up 8.9% at the moment. AMD up 3.1%. Mara and crypto getting hit hard. The Russell 2000 is actually negative on the session. So still seeing sell side pressure in the IWM. Alright guys, I just added to my QQQ position here at 459. Pre-market low, we pierced that pre-market low, 459. I just added my second entry long on the Qs. My average is now sitting at 459.30. 459.30. Qs are still going lower here, guys. Next ad level on the Qs is going to be about 458.50. And then 50 cents lower from that, 458. We are seeing quite a bit of sell side pressure at the moment. Alright, so Qs are getting a nice bounce. You've seen Meta get faded, Apple breaking down, Tesla get faded, NVIDIA still holding steady at the moment. Intel got faded, Nat Gas still climbing here. Climbing into its inventories. Has now had 6 20-minute green candles in a row. Daily RSI, super extended, but at the moment still pressing. Still pressing. Alright, our QQQ position is now basically flat. Let's see if we can build some momentum off of it and push higher. Again, I'm looking for a move back to your pre-market high on the Qs. But if we lose pre-market low, it's not really a positive sign for the market, in my opinion. Again, last entry on ARM is 114.20, 114.20. Adobe still seeing a little bit of sellers. Lululemon perking back up. Bitcoin still breaking down below 69,000 at the moment. There goes the Qs. QQQ coming up into this 458.50 ad level. Wow, I wish I added there. Look at that strong wick on the market. That was insane. I never got filled. It missed me by about a penny or so. That's just the way she goes. But again, we're back to flat on our QQQ. ARM is still coming in here. So ARM is still coming in. You still have quite a few sectors negative on the session today, despite the strength in the NASDAQ. Really, only XLK, XLC, and XLE are positive. Every other sector in the S&P is negative. So it just shows you how much weighting these semis can hold and keep up the markets. UVIX getting a bid. Coin insider selling, 11,355 shares. Now, with the insider selling there, Ram, who sold? I mean, was it, and I mean, not really who sold, but how much of a position do they have left? You know, you always want to compare when you see insider selling. Okay, did they dump 10% of their portfolio? Did they dump 50%? You know, I look for extremely abnormal amounts of sells. You know, does a CEO liquidate the majority of their holdings? Whenever it's a majority sell or majority buy, that's something that gets me very interested in exploring further. So try to find out how much shares they still remain in their hands, because you know they could sell 11,000 shares and still have another, you know, a few 100,000, and then it's really a nothing burger. It just could be for taxes or some sort of, you know, family affair. All right, ARM still not catching a bid. SockCell still trading at 52.50. SMCI got a small pullback there to about the 939 range. I never bought it. QQQ still trying to build a base here. NVIDIA is going for new highs. Bitcoin is dumping hard here, guys. Bitcoin dumping hard. Yeah, the Dixie just spiked off of data. There must be data or some sort of news. All right, guys, I'm gonna probably have to this Dixie's ripping, guys. Is there any news? Not really sure about 947 data. Yields are also spiking. 10-year just spiked up 1%. 10-year yield did just spike up 1%. Alright guys, just in the event something goes awry here, I'm going to buy SOXS down here at 25.65. I'm basically hedging my QQQ position, 25.65 long SOXS, just until we know what the heck is going on here with the dollar. So I just hedged my SOXS. I went long SOXS at 25.65. You can see arms coming back down. The Dixie's still pressing. Yields are still coming in a little bit. Alright guys, I just added to my QQQ position there, 458.50. I did add there. I'm going to close the SOXS. 25.80 sold the SOXS. And I just added to my ARM position. Final entry on ARM, 114.20 there. 114.20. My average on ARM now is 115.17. 115.17. My average on the Qs, 458.92. Last entry on the Qs is at 458. And I sold the SOXS for about 25 cents. It was about a 0.62. You're still seeing the Qs coming in a touch here. ARM is still coming in. A lot of sell side pressure hitting the tape right now, guys. A lot of sell side pressure. Apple getting demolished, Google, Meta getting demolished, NVIDIA still holding steady. NVIDIA seems to be the last one standing at this point. Again, only 2 sectors are green in the S&P 500. Go figure, you have the NASDAQ up 0.66% and only 2 sectors are green. Bitcoin tanking, guys. Bitcoin is tanking. That's good for our short trade at that 71.9 area. So good to see Bitcoin running out of steam here. Again, the Russell 2000 IWM is down 0.5% at the moment. It does look like the Qs are trying to sell even more here. We have lost pre-market low. That's never a good sign on the Qs. Losing pre-market low, never a good sign. And right now, this gap up is actually being faded quite substantially. Bitcoin continuing to dump here hard, really, really hard. IWM still going lower. New low of day on the IWM. So IWM's taking out yesterday's low of day. That's quite telling here. I still think we can get a market bounce, but this is definitely a big fade. SMCI is now coming in sharply as well. I still think SMCI could bounce a little bit from here, but these equity markets are being sold into. Alright guys, I just did my final entry there on the Qs. 458. My average now 458.55. Just common shares. So all I'm doing is common shares here, and you can see why. Look at the sell side. I mean, wow, what a gap and crack fading market here. That dollar spiked, and it just sent the markets tumbling here. Qs are still going lower. Look at this, only up 0.5%. SPY's almost gone negative, guys. The Russell's still coming in. Wow, quite extraordinary. Quite extraordinary. Imagine the whole semiconductor move gets faded and Qs go negative. How crazy would that be? That could mark a near-term top in the market. My oh my. Look at this down move, guys. This is pretty extreme. Airbnb giving me an alert here. What's Airbnb saying? And honestly, I'm okay if the market falls. I would like to see these day trades bounce a little bit before, but if the market wants to fall, the market wants to fall. We hedged going in with longs, took profits on SOXL, and obviously our net short positions are still down as it says gap up. Oil's starting to break down here. Wow, the Dixie's just flying here, guys. All right, I'm going to have to look to cut this arm trade, guys, for a loss because it's starting to show signs of deterioration. I'm just trying to see if the Qs can firm up and hold steady here, but arm is starting to get bludgeoned here. It's almost losing the majority of its gains at the moment. I'm still holding. I still think it's just trying to shake people out of this potential consolidation pattern, but the QQQ just getting absolutely demolished. S&P almost negative. Russell's down 0.6% below the low of day. Nice, nice. I think that securing profits is good. I mean, you still have NVIDIA holding the bulk of its gains, but the likes of Apple negative, Google almost negative, Tesla almost negative, Meta's gone negative, Bitcoin's rolled over, Amazon's rolled over. So, I mean, it does look like they're fading this entire semiconductor move, which is quite extraordinary from my perspective. Nat Gas finally seeing a little bit of selling from that 313 high area. A little bit of a 10-minute topping tail forming, a potential 20-minute topping tail forming. Qs are still going lower, guys. Wow. I'm quite shocked we haven't had a bounce yet in the indices since the open. It's just been pretty much a one-way flush to the downside. Again, I think calls probably, if we go to gap fill, are very, 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 very juicy and probably favorable on the long side. At some point, this market should get a bounce today. SMCI, guys, 911.65. I might take a stab at SMCI at 911.65. Just keep in mind that the semiconductor plays have not been working yet. We've been getting sold into at every single turn. So clearly they are trying to take a lot of profits in the semiconductor land. SOX calls in the money. Nice job, Ram. Nice job. That's a good trade. That's a good trade. 911.65, guys. I like a bit of a long entry on SMCI. 911.65. That's your prior day high. I'm going to take a stab at it there. Still holding my Qs, still holding my arm. Arm's obviously gone against me. But crazy price action across the board. All right, guys, I'm going to take it early on SMCI. Actually, you know what? Let's be diligent. Let's just wait for that 911.65. The way ARM is flushed, the way NVIDIA is curling down, Tesla's curling down, Bitcoin breaking down, dollar still spiking at the highs. Again, I'm trying to see what really created that dollar spike. Was it data? Was it 945 data? Yeah, it was 945 data that created that spike in. It was your service PMI, your manufacturing PMI. They came in exceptionally hot across the board, which has spiked yields and the dollar. So clearly now we're in a scenario where inflation expectations could be coming in. All right, guys, SMCI did hit that 911.65 zone. SMCI hit that 911.65 zone. I'm not long yet because I have a lot of positions in ARM as well as the Qs. Qs are going against me. ARM is against me on the day trade side. But we've had no bounce in the equity markets since the complete sell-off. I mean, to put into perspective, the S&P's gone negative with NVIDIA up almost 8%. So the QQQ could be trying to follow suit here. It would be extreme if we get no bounce here. But there's a scenario where they're trying to fade this market. I'm still holding steady. I still think that we're going to get a big push intraday. Nat gas finally starting to bleed, guys. Natural gas finally starting to see some heavy sell side pressure. Again, we still have new home sales coming at 10 a.m. in 3 minutes, guys. 10:30 we have nat gas storage. Nat gas finally starting to see a bit of selling off that 308 now. So let's see if this turns into a bit of a topping signal today. It's had such an exhaustive move in my opinion. It's really, really quite something. Trying to put in still a strong hourly candle forming. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Dixie slowly coming in a touch here, guys. The Dixie is trying to get faded here a little bit. SMCI wicking off that 911.65 prior day high like a friggin' champ. I should have taken it there. I mean, we've been watching that prior day high. I should have taken that. But again, would have, could have, should have. 3 best traders in the market. But a huge wick off of that 911.65 zone. That was a huge buying entry point in my opinion. But the QQQ is still super, super weak on the session. Again, a lot of the mega caps, Meta, Microsoft even going negative, Apple, Tesla negative, Amazon. So pretty much all your mega cap tech are negative except for NVDA at the moment. Except for NVIDIA. Nat gas still coming in. KOLD now at 38. ARM is still struggling immensely here, almost going negative. And again, this is why, yeah, Lululemon trying to squeeze higher here. That one's showing some resiliency, up about 1%. Here comes a QQQ bounce. Come on. Nat gas still coming in at 305. Still, Nat gas is still up 2.91%. One of these days, we will see a red reversal in Nat gas. You know, I've seen a lot of these squeezes happen, and commodities tend to go higher and longer than most people think, but definitely think eventually it's going to come in. All right, this ARM trade, guys, I apologize. It's actually bludgeoning at this point. Unless the Qs really get a big stick and this firms up, this could be turning into a bit of a failed breakout attempt. And obviously, I still think that this name is probably going to see a bounce at some point. It's still that lower float volume, lower float name that can move very, very quickly. Obviously, it's not a good sign that it's had a huge reversal and no bounce. QQQ, big green stick to the upside. ARM really not participating. Nat gas still coming in a touch. NVIDIA at 1,030. Right now, you still have the Russell down 0.44. AMD still green, SMCI green, Microsoft just flipped back green. New home sales came out, guys, 634,000 versus consensus of 677. So it's causing the dollar to fall a lot lower, which is why the markets are spiking here. Markets are spiking off of a falling dollar and falling yields again on that new home sales data. So that came in less than expected, showing a little bit more weakness in the housing market. Price action trying to cool down a bit. Still no bounce in ARM. So crude oil is trading at 78. Hey guys, just jumping back into here, getting things reconnected. Hopefully you can all still hear me. Just had a little bit of technical difficulties there on a power failure. Nat gas, yeah, seeing a little bit of a decline back into the 299 zone, so right at that psychological whole number. It's still positive on the session, but definitely seeing a sizable reversal from the highs, and this is right ahead of inventory, so perhaps a few traders have got the number early, but it is looking like as of now we could be in store for a bit of a reversal. And honestly, the downside measured move today where nat gas could actually flush down to is all the way, just give me 1 second. So the downside measured move based off of the reversal that nat gas is showing us as of now, the downside that I've calculated out today could head all the way down to 270 today. So that's still about a 9% move down. Obviously, there's still inventory, so you have to be mindful of that. Inventories can spike it, it could drop it, but the measured move down today that I've calculated based off of this high pay reversal could be all the way down to 270 today for nat gas. So just be patient with this one. KOLD starting to firm up a little bit here on KOLD's price action. So at least we're seeing some sort of profit taking in sell side. And again, I'm still down about 15% on my KOLD swing short, which really it's a triple, so it's not that much. 15% down on a triple, you know, is we could see that happen today. I mean, if nat gas hits the target that I have today of 270, which seems pretty unreasonable when I say it out loud. IWM puts going nuts, yep. QQQ pushing right back up, guys. I'm still long the Qs. Again, we had a pretty shitty average there since the sell side took us a lot deeper than I was expecting. But as of now, the Qs are still pushing up and we're long. ARM is going against us at the moment. I'm still expecting a bit of a bounce in ARM. Guys, what I'm going to do here is take a bit of profits on the Qs at 459.02, your pre-market low. So watch that pre-market low area. I'm going to sell half of my QQQ position there and take profits on and put it in the money stop. So if we push back up to pre-market low, I'll secure some profits and move my stop loss to break even. Just because we didn't, obviously the sell side went a little bit deeper than I expected. Guys, I'm also going to take a long on ARM or SMCI 914. I just entered at 914 on SMCI. This is a starter position. 914 long SMCI. 914 long SMCI. ARM right now going against me. I'm not going to add to that position because that one just hasn't worked out the way I thought it was going to. SMCI, we're long now at 914. This is just a starter position. I'll add to SMCI if it flushes to about 896.50, 896.50 or around 897. There's your 5-minute EMA 113. We are getting a nice bounce off that 914 area already. QQQ back to the green. SMCI is starting to push. Again, long SMCI, long ARM, long Qs, short nat gas still. Nat gas still tumbling here a little bit ahead of the inventory report. Good to see. I don't mind that. SMCI, huge push on SMCI coming into play, guys. Big push on SMCI. Still no bid in ARM. Nat gas can be pretty unreasonable. Yeah, it can. It can. Yep. Gabriel saying nat gas tried to make my wife into a widow, but I'm still here. Yeah, honestly. You know, some of my best and worst trades have been both on the nat gas side. I remember trading during that Russia-Ukraine invasion. That was insane. That was insane. All right, SMCI, huge push. Still no bounce in ARM. That one's still going against us in the near term. The one positive aspect is that NVDA is still holding pretty much at the highs of its chart. Yeah, 1,040. I have a short. I like the short on NVIDIA around 1,042, 1,045, in and around that region. I'm just seeing how the Qs if the Qs want to firm up a little bit more here, then I could see myself shorting NVIDIA. I want to see NVIDIA make one more push for a new high, and then we get a short-term intraday negative divergence. So I'm looking for NVIDIA to make one more push higher, and then I think we could look for a bit of a short entry. So it needs to get into above 1,042.50 at least, but I want to see it make a new high. Nat gas trying to hold around that 299 level. QQQ still just putting in some consolidation. Still flat on our Qs. ARM is trying to firm up off of yesterday's low, but still struggling. Apple still getting sold into. Tesla weak. Russell's catching a little bit of a bounce here off of the lows. QQQ still pushing. All right, ARM's trying to firm up, guys. SMCI pushing. All right, so profit target on SMCI, guys, is around 929. 929. And then how we can play this is move stops to break even or in the money, however you want to play it there. Adobe's breaking out, guys. So take a look at this Adobe chart that we discussed in the pre-market. I've been watching this. Obviously, we do have long exposure on Adobe already. But this one's a name that's trying to break out of this little downsloping inverse head and shoulders. So even with the decline in the Qs from the highs, Adobe's kind of been putting in a massive continuation move, defending yesterday's prior day high. That's extremely bullish in Adobe, guys. Anyone that's not long Adobe right now, look for Adobe calls. I'm actually exploring some Adobe calls right now myself. Just 1 second, I'm getting a phone call, guys. Hey guys, mic check. Hopefully you can hear me now. Sound check. All right, so we're jumping back into things here. Q's obviously getting sold into still. Looks like we could actually head lower. If we break this key level here, if we take out this little bit of a low pivot at 457.35, we're probably going to test that prior day high. It is looking likely that we may test this prior day high on the Q's. Big inflection point here. Losing pre-market low is never a good sign on the Q's. A lot of weakness in S&P 500 stocks. NVIDIA is still holding steady, but Apple weak. To think Apple's now down 1.19% and the Qs are still green. Really the Qs are only green because of NVIDIA. NVIDIA up at a whopping 9.22% at the moment. Has pulled in from the highs a touch. ARM's still at hovering on prior day low, yesterday's low. SMCI trying to lose yesterday's high. I will add to SMCI around 897.40-ish. 897.40-ish. Again, the ARM long is just sitting at yesterday's low. That one might be turning into a bit of a swing. Again, inventories for nat gas out in 5 minutes. I'll flip to that chart once we're a couple minutes out and a little bit closer so that we can see the reaction. And again, it seems that SMCI is just going to chop in this little bit of a parallel channel range until we get a definitive move. So I'm looking at adding to the position at the bottom of this range. The Russell's at the lows, new low of day on the Russell 2000. So those 205 puts are starting to work out well. NVIDIA is still strong. You're seeing Google trying to catch a bid. Tesla trying to firm up at the lows. NVIDIA is still trying to press higher. Ten-year yields are still up 1.5%. Now you have the Dixie trying to soften a little bit in the near term. And again, that was a big bout of profit taking on the Qs and the whole entire indice market at the open. And the question is, are we going to see a rebound? Typically after a huge sell-off like this, you do get a rebound. You typically do get a rebound. Again, keep in mind, NVIDIA is still a powerhouse, up 9.5% right now. So inherently, that stock staying strong and everything else selling is shaking out the weak sellers, positioning the Qs for a little bit of an accumulation bounce here. I'm still thinking the Qs are going to get a stellar bounce to the upside. It's just a matter of, do we go a little bit lower or do we press? You know, I'm still interested in taking a bit of profits at your pre-market low, but again, since we tested that area once, came very close, had a pullback, potentially putting in a higher low, I might reevaluate that target. I might only take profits now at around this little bit of a fib zone, this 459.40 zone. All right, 2 minutes till nat gas inventories, guys. Let's see how that is going to play out. Consensus right now is 84 billion. The previous was 70 billion. Again, nat gas has had an extraordinary move. An extraordinary move to the high side, potentially putting in a little bit of an hourly topping tail. Getting a bounce now off of your 10-minute EMA 113. Again, yesterday's low is all the way down at 275.90. So I mean, if we were to retest that low, you're talking about another sell-off of about 8%. So that could happen. But again, simultaneously, you could easily push right back to the highs, which would indicate another 3.7% move up. So we do have inventories coming out in 1 minute now. 1 minute. So watch your nat gas positions here. Honestly, Ram, that's well said. That is well said. Ram saying one thing he's learned from this market is that hope for the best and prepare for the worst. You honestly have to. You know, we all trade here. NVIDIA just made a new high there, guys. I did not fill a short. I'm looking for a little bit higher on NVIDIA. All right, inventories, nat gas is getting a pump here. Nat gas is getting a pump up to the high side. KOLD's coming down. Let's see if that old first move is the wrong move in nat gas. SMCI coming down. Qs are getting rejected there. All right, nat gas, pretty volatile price action here in nat gas. Let's see what they have in store. So the consensus nat gas actual was 78 billion. 78 billion. Consensus was for 84 billion. So it's still showing reasonable demand in nat gas, but I think that this demand in nat gas has been priced in with this recent move. This could be a sell the news type of event on nat gas. Strong inventory number. SMCI trying to come lower as the Qs are still trying to stabilize. NVIDIA is pushing, guys. NVIDIA is still pushing here. It's at 1,043. I don't even want to know the valuation yet of NVIDIA, but it's phenomenally strong. So now we're at a scenario here. If we get rejected at your prior day high on nat gas, expect the prior day low to be tested. That could be hit today, or it could be flushed out tomorrow. But expect, as long as we reject the prior day high, you want to look for your prior day low. Qs are trying to firm up. Still holding those long on the Qs, 450, 853. Come on, nat gas, give it up. Give it up. Give us a topping tail. You know, your weekly low pivot close on nat gas. So your weekly low of this week was all the way at 275-ish. So imagine we get a weekly topping tail on nat gas, let alone a daily topping tail. As of now, it is forming a daily topping tail on nat gas. QQQ position is now green, guys. The long on Qs are now green. And I am looking at potentially another good one there by Ram, just throwing out some really, really good insights. Another saying goes, if you won't love your wife, someone else will. The same goes for our hard-earned money. Absolutely. All right, so nat gas heavy reversal, guys. KOLD's starting to turn green as nat gas is turning now red with a huge daily topping tail. So this could be a major high pivot in nat gas. I'm expecting a pretty big move down in nat gas from this area. There will be a sizable bounce trade. Just keep in mind that if we flush deep, you know, there will be a sizable bounce. There's going to be a lot of buy the dip bulls waiting to swoop in on nat gas. NVIDIA is continuing to scream higher here. Google's going lower. Meta's going higher. Amazon's curling up. Tesla's just sideways. Qs are just flat out near our entry. SMCI is breaking lower. 897.45. I'll add to my SMCI position, my second entry. Russell's going to the lows again, so the Russell 2000 is at the lows. Alright guys, I just added to my SMCI at 897. 897. Just added to my SMCI there. $8.97. My final entry on SMCI is going to be at 883. Qs are going lower. Sorry, Qs are going higher, but SMCI going lower. Nat gas still slightly green on the session at 0.32, but it has seen some sell side pressure from the inventory report. Meta trying to push. NVIDIA's at new highs. Alright guys, I'm going to take a stab at a short on NVIDIA. I just got filled at 1,046, 1,046, 1,046 even, 1,046 even. I'm short NVIDIA, 1,046 short NVDA. So a bit of a pairs trade right now. I'm short NVIDIA at 1,046. We got that higher move, new high. Still holding my long on SMCI, so we have a bit of a pairs trade. Still holding my long on the Qs, but 1,046 short NVIDIA. Potential little inverse head and shoulders trying to form on the Qs here, guys. You can see you're trying to break out of this little downsloping trend line and trying to push higher here. So I'm still long the Qs, long SMCI, down on the trade on the SMCI, in the green on Qs, short NVIDIA simultaneously. So kind of a pairs trade at the moment. We need to be very, very careful with this one. Alright, NVIDIA is starting to come in here, guys. NVIDIA is starting to come in. Look at that move down, already up $4 there. So let's see if we can get some more downward pressure. Nat gas still trading at 298. It does look like nat gas is going to fall lower today, guys. It does look like natural gas is probably going to push lower today. It's looking quite heavy. The volume is exceptionally heavy in this region. Very, very heavy volume in this region. SMCI still managing to go lower. Intel trying to put it in a little bit of a base. NVDA trying to put in a bit of a 10-minute topping tail. See the QQQ. Qs were still green on the trade. SMCI going lower. Again, guys, at your pre-market high, I'm looking to trim a bit of profits on the Qs and then moving stops to break even. I repeat, at pre-market high, I'll be trimming profits on the Qs. Sorry, pre-market low, I'll be trimming profits on the Qs and moving stops to break even. Look at nat gas. We break this little pivot. We're going to start flushing. Next target on nat gas is 286. 286 on nat gas is your first fib level. And your first fib level is only from this high, your weekly breakout. So I'm drawing this Fibonacci level from this first impulse weekly candle breakout. So let's see if nat gas wants to push to that next fib level. You can even draw this Fibonacci retrace zone all the way down to your low, and then you can see that 277 is a massive target. Massive target. All right, guys, I just added to SMCI at 883. 883. 883. I added to SMCI. Come on, nat gas, flush it. Look at the decline in nat gas, guys. Here we go. Finally starting to see a massive high pivot reversal, guys. This is exactly what we want to see now. Come on, keep it going lower. Let's look at SMCI again. That one's still going lower. Still holding NVIDIA short at 1,046. Nice, thank you, Paul. Very interesting. So you have a confluence level at 276 as well. 277 is that massive fib level. So I like to see other confluence as well. So yeah, beautiful. Nice channel line from the low of May 1st and the low of May 15th, which would confluence at 276. Perfect. That's good. Thank you for that. Bitcoin still seeing more sell side pressure. I repeat, Bitcoin is breaking down at the moment. SMCI going lower, ARM going lower, semis are going lower. All right, guys, I'm going to take a little bit of a sell here on the Qs. I just sold the Qs at that breakdown bar, 458.40. I took a small loss, 13-cent loss on the Qs. Took a 13-cent loss on the QQQ position. SMCI still going against us in the near term. We do have that short exposure on NVIDIA, which is working out in the near term. But holy, what a reversal in the market, guys. The QQQ looks like it wants to go negative today. Just based off of how they're actually selling this market, the Qs want to go negative, guys. I'm going to have to, if we get a bounce to break even, I'm probably going to look to take these. I'm going to look for at least a break even. I'm going to try to get out of this SMCI trade at break even. It's dipping a lot farther than I thought. And the way that this market is shaping up, dollars putting in a bull flag, QQQ trying to break out but failing. I don't know, things are looking a little bit grim in the near term. Russell 2000 still putting in bearish consolidation. The Qs are at a big spot here. So if we look at the QQQ chart, Qs are at a really, really sizable spot here, because if you break this little bit of a trend line to the downside, then you've triggered a mini head and shoulders on the 1 minute time frame, which honestly, this type of pattern puts you back down to your prior day high. So there's going to be a lot of support sitting at prior day, but just recognize the Qs could break down and head back to 456. Since we have long exposure, guys, I'm going to take a 457 put on the Qs. Sized for loss. 457 put got filled at 67 cents. 67 cents a contract. 457 put on the Qs. I got filled at 67 cents. We are trying to push higher here, and this is just a way to hedge my SMCI in the event that this keeps flushing. Qs are pushing though. Dixie's also pushing, trying to recapture 109. NVIDIA new high. NVIDIA is pushing for new highs. Yes, there is. There is, Anonymous. There's things like gold and silver you buy for long-term holds. There's some long-term accounts that I manage. You know, there were some other names that I've mentioned before to members. Expiries today. Expires today, Ram. Whenever I call it a QQQ put play in the live trading room, it's always a 0 DTE most of the time, unless I don't specify. Unless I specify differently, it's always a 0 DTE play in the live day trade room. All right, QQQ puts are now printing, guys. Puts are printing here. All right, 457s are now up to 84 cents. Again, I'm just sold half of them, guys. I just took profit at 84 cents. I'm going to move my stop to break even at 67 cents. 67 cents. Come on. But we're looking for more downside. Again, if we hit 90 cents on the QQQ 457 put, I'll pull off a little bit more. Slowly pare back profits as we fall here on the Qs, and keeping a break-even stop at 67 cents now that we've already pulled off a set of profit. Nat Gas trying to hold steady and bounce. Apple seeing more sellers. Tesla's trying to bounce. All right, guys, I'm going to step away here. from the market, as I have a few things to do. It's another sunny day. But it's been a pleasure with all you. Nice job pulling profits on the stocks. L long positions. Obviously, we've been caught in a bit of an arm downward swoop here. SMCI has obviously gone against us, but these QQQ puts are starting to print here and hedge us in a nice way. Obviously, we still have short exposure on NVIDIA, and we're waiting to see if Nat Gas can put in a heavier reversal. All right, but the next profit zone on QQQ puts is 90 cents on the contracts. I'll pull off more profits. But it does look like the Qs want to test this prior day low. You simply look at this failed little breakout, double top, M top, head and shoulders. It actually puts us briefly a slight pierce below that prior day low. Alright guys, I just trimmed a little bit more there on the dip at 91 cents per contract. I sold a little bit more. And now I'm leaving the last few contracts running here to that 457 strike. Can we get these puts in the money? Let's see. Cons are all the way up to 98 cents. We took them at 67 cents. Alright guys, I just sold all of them at $1.01. $1.01. I'm out of the 457 put. Beautiful little trade there. $1.01. Still holding SMCI. But I'm all out of that QQQ 457 put. Nice job if you caught that with us. Road contracts from 67 cents to $1.01. Good trade there. Still holding SMCI at 896. If we get a move back into this little 895 area, I'm prepared to take a break even, honestly, at this point. I am prepared. ARM, I might turn ARM into a bit of a swing trade here. I'm kind of just still deciding. It's still putting in inside bar consolidation. I don't like the fact that it's losing yesterday's low when semiconductors are strong. That's not a positive sign. So, yep, SOX calls are printing. Nice job, Ram. SOX heading for that gap fill. Yes, it is. Yes, you did, Chris. Chris said spike up and then a sell-off. You did say that. Absolutely. I do recall that. But yeah, take a look at that. The SOX SOXS is almost green on the session. Now, here's the thing, though. The Dixie's ripping. Yields are ripping. You've had a huge sell-side profit day in the market. A lot of profits have been secured. But there's still that powerhouse NVIDIA up 10%. Whenever that name is surging like that, you could still have some sympathy trades in the semiconductor market firm up here. I'd be shocked if the Qs don't get some sort of a face-ripping rally. I mean, we've seen pretty much a sell-side candle day. The S&P is almost negative. But really from the get-go, that 461.50, look at the range we've traded in. 461 all the way down to 457. We've given up the majority of this rally in the semis, but NVIDIA is still at the highs. So it's really telling that, you know what, the sell-side pressure isn't really coming from NVIDIA. It's coming from everywhere else, which is kind of concerning. Because NVIDIA, as strong as it is, it can't keep the market up forever. Eventually, NVIDIA bulls are going to run out of steam and also look to secure some profits, especially if they see the rest of the market trying to break lower. Dixie new high of day, guys, almost clearing the 105 barrier. This market is selling. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's in a free fall right now from the highs. So a lot of sell side pressure. Alright guys, I'm going to step away. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the charts a little bit later. I won't be able to do the afternoon session today, but I am looking to close out the Friday, so it's going to be interesting to see how the market closes today. Obviously, NVIDIA is still super strong, but the markets have given up a lot of the rally. S&P's negative. Russell's down by 1%. Those 205 puts are deep in the money on the Russell, so if you're still riding those, Nice job. We called those out a lot earlier when you're above that 205.60 zone. So those are printing. Obviously, my apologies about SMCI and ARM. Those ones have gone against us in the near term. But I'm looking for a break even on SMCI. ARM I may hold as a swing trade off of this level because it's still holding inside bar consolidation. And as of now, we'll just have to see where this market closes. I just took some more profits on the Russell put, closing those out as I end the stream here. And riding in 1046 NVIDIA short to also hedge the SMCI long trade. So as of now, we have a bit of a pairs trade where we're long SMCI, short NVIDIA off that 1046. Ram also saying he took those IWM 205 puts. Nice job. Good job. You have the SOXS just turned green, guys. QQQ tapping that prior day low. 457 puts just went in the money, guys. 457 puts just went in the money. Let's look at NVDA here. Again, we're still short NVIDIA off that 1046. All right, guys, I'm going to step away. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you on the charts a little bit later. Thanks, guys.